My fiancé cheated on me with the worst kind of girl. I 25 female and my fiancé 27 male met in Vancouver. I was a successful voice actress and he was a soon-to-be lawyer. When we first met, there was an instant connection, and we decided to keep dating. As the days went by, I moved in. This was my first time moving with someone in their home. I was a bit scared, as I have never depended so much on a man before. It took me several years to get over my exes or even go on trips with them, as I have had traumatic experiences, such as them abandoning me in random places. A couple months after I worked long hours, 8+ shifts, we decided Vancouver wasn't the place for us, as everything was expensive and he was fired from work. So I had to support us with whatever I was making. Long story short, I was having many meltdowns because I was being harassed in my job, as well as my pay became less and less, because there were more competitive girls and I wasn't feeling or doing my best. I was having arguments with my fiancé. I would come home and clean the house. He would cook and I would do the laundry and try to keep our home neat. We talked about moving to Mexico, where I'm from, as cost of living was cheaper and I had bought my own place. We had many trips between Canada and Mexico as well, as he had invited me to meet his sister and his mom to England. They were both very welcoming and loving. We had arguments here and there, but nothing too harsh or significant in my opinion. We traveled to Italy for my birthday in February. Everything was fine. We come back to sell our stuff in Vancouver: sofa, kitchen stuff, the bed, everything, and the arguments kept going as I didn't want to go back to my job. He knew I was being harassed. When we got ready to come down to Mexico, a couple days passed. I checked his phone and he had invited a girl over to have sex. He sent her pictures and tried to convince her to come through. I was feeling enraged. I woke him up immediately and slapped him across the face. I was furious. My AirPods were missing that day and my Pandora ring as well. I called her and asked her to send me the full conversation. He had swore he never saw her and holds it to this day. When she texted me, both him and her were making fun of my appearance, saying that I'm not pretty and that I'm boring and bitter. They made comments about my body. During this time as well, we were trying to conceive. I spoke to his mom and I told her I didn't want him in Mexico anymore and I didn't want to be with him, as I was very heartbroken. His mom and my parents convinced me to stay, but I'm having so many doubts. He's tried to reassure me he will never do anything like that anymore, but I'm honestly having such a hard time. I feel unable to forgive him. I don't know what I should do. He wants to propose in July, but I don't feel like this is the man for me. Want suggestions to move on from this. Well, things couldn't have gone worse. I confronted him this morning about the fact that I'm not able to move past this, that I truly deserve someone better, more loving, caring, who won't speak bad about me, and who I know will never cheat. Although it's hard for me to believe that's true, there are men who don't cheat. These men just happen to truly love their women. He told me that my family and him had already discussed with me clean slate and that her texts were obviously edited and fake. He showed me the Photoshop on them and they do seem fake. However, the fact that he still invited her into our home and stole from me doesn't save anything. I told him that it was fine and I was interested in hearing him. I packed his bags and told him to leave my house. I told him, go call this girl. Maybe she can buy you a ticket back to Canada. He begged and begged for forgiveness and to move past this, and I denied it obviously. Later today I realized, notification on my phone, that I had missed my period, so I took a pregnancy test and am pregnant. This is really hard on me, because I have been trying to conceive since the beginning of this year and I have fertile problems. I'm in a lot of conflict. I'm happy yet I'm very sad. I feel deeply alone. My parents are very mad, but I told them I don't care. His mom and his sister understand my side. I told them about the stolen items. I do not know his whereabouts. I don't know what he's doing. Story number 2. Revenge is a dish best served cold or at graduation. Do I or don't I? Hit the rewind button to 2001. my 31 at the time, wife 32 at the time, and I are on year 3 of our marriage. Everything seemed pretty good. I was a tech consultant flying cross-country, and she was starting her career. With a big jump from a small establishment to a big firm, I wrap up a 9-month stint at a client site and come home to a water disconnect notice, weird as she does the bills. I grab her computer and AIMAOL Instant Messenger is open and a long chat with a guy at work is open with several saved. I immediately feel gutted and buy and install a software to monitor goings-on. Turns out coworker's wife is pregnant and he and my wife are planning a little getaway to San Francisco Father's Day weekend. I'm gutted. She lets him know that she has vaginal herpes, which douses the flames for a few days. Needless to say, I'm so glued to my computer waiting for the spyware updates that it starts to take a serious toll on my mental health. Fast forward a few weeks and the trip is back on. I confront my wife, who gaslights the shit out of me. I beg her not to go. She goes and stays with a friend first night, and then the guy the second night. I spend the night calling every hotel in SF trying to find her, blow up her phone which is off. The next morning she calls and is getting on an earlier flight, comes home and the asshole calls her as she walks through our front door. Gaslighting continues. Nothing happened. July rolls round and our birthdays and 3rd anniversary are a few days apart. I get her into MC and she shows up late every time. By this time, I've hacked into her Yahoo account created just for the affair and start printing all communication. My lovely wife was good enough to save all the chat logs to her work computer, so I could email them to myself while she was sleeping. July 9th, less than a week after our 3rd anniversary, arguably the worst day of my life, she is going out with work friends, so I head downtown and catch the two of them walking back to their office. I slam car and park and sprint to office a few blocks away and she is outside without him. They never wanted badge swipes to be close together. I confront her and she says she needs to go talk to him. I let her agonize for 90 minutes in my truck behind her office. She finally says she's ready, so I pick her up and get verbally abusive. I told her unless she tells me what happened, I'll drive down the highway as far as my fuel will take me. Insert more gaslighting here. I finally turn around to head home to see what emails will transpire. Sure enough, she goes to sleep and off to Yahoo I go. Shitbag sends email apologizing for finishing so fast and not being able to get it up again. I wake her up and show her the email and all the info I've collected with the software. She finally comes clean about SF and sleeping with him. Still in MC and not making much headway, I give her an ultimatum that she needs to move out or stop. Of course, there's one more business trip with a female colleague and shitbag shows up. She finally tells him she needs to stop and things go dormant until 9/11 when he calls to check on her. More dormancy until I go to break into his house and chicken out, so I cut his cable. Actually removed a foot-long section. He calls her furious. More dormancy seemingly for months until I find his resume on her computer. No more spyware, just frequent checking. My wife is now pregnant, so after a checkup I offer to drive her to his house so she can meet his wife and child. Daughter now 22, she declines. Repeated in their discussions was how he couldn't wait to be there when they had kids together. This played over and over in my head when my first daughter was born. 2012 and I am still resentful as hell. He moves to the West Coast and my wife and I have a trip planned to Arizona. I book my ticket with a layover in LA so I can go talk to his wife. Get to LA, wife is not home, so I go to his office and floor is locked off. Ran out of time to wait for either. 2014 cleaning our house out for construction. Now I have 3 kids, started a business, and am on top of the world. Find a box of files from wife's work. Wouldn't you know, all her communications I wasn't privy to are neatly printed out. Totally guts me. The affair continued from mid-December through September of 2002, which encompasses the first 2 trimesters of my wife's pregnancy. He yelled at her when she got pregnant. You said you weren't sleeping with him anymore. You've ruined our plans. She sends him a conciliatory note that she went to the abortion clinic. with her sister and was unable to go through with it. She tells him she loves him on my birthday. More MC ensues as I agonize over whether child, age 11 at this point, is mine for weeks after finding the file, and confront her. Then she gets diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. MC over the fight to survive is on. 9 years after the file, and 22 after finding out about the affair, and the shitbag is back in my city for his daughter's graduation. Do I go confront him or just leave a gift at hotel? So his day is shot.